Welcome to this instalment of the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries Coach and Officials Development Series. My name is Orazio Santalucia and I'm a Project Officer working in Regional Services in the Peel office. Throughout the series, DLGSC hopes to be able to provide coaches and officials tuning in via either the vodcast or the podcast webinars access to some of the leaders in their fields with their amazing intelligence. Understanding that all coaches and officials in all sports are at various stages of their journeys of their own development, and throughout this series we hope to provide everyone with some great information to assist them with their growth and development as a coach and or an official. Today we are very fortunate to be chatting with Michelle Wong from Buster Burpee. Michelle's philosophy is all about movement, inclusion and education. Michelle aims to create a thriving community founded on inclusion through her research and implementation of her Buster Burpee Inclusive Physical Activity Program. Hi Michelle, and welcome to the Coach and Officials Development Series.
Thank you for having me, Orazio. Good to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Buster Burpee and how what's your role in coaching anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. I really like what you said earlier about the podcast. We're talking to coaches of all levels and all abilities, so I really hope today I can share some advice and tips for you that will be relevant for the complete beginner volunteer coach right through to your experienced coaches, because the work I do really focuses on engagement and keeping kids coming back and retention for sporting clubs. So I think that's something we agree every club needs. And also, Australia as a nation, we really terrible statistics on the amount of physical activity that kids are involved in. So anything we can do to help boost that number is huge. So this is great that hopefully these series will definitely help get more kids moving and more coaches confident with that. And so I do a lot of I research with the Curtin Autism Research Group. So my thesis is on motivation to participate in mainstream sport for autistic youth. So a lot of coaches are dealing with these invisible disabilities. You might not even realise you have autistic children on your team, or your ADHD, or it's things that you can't tell physically. So I help, through my research, obviously I want to help more kids involved that way. And then I also, through the work I do with Buster Burpee, that is all about upskilling coaches and clubs on how to make the most inclusive environment, but also a fun place for everyone to be a part of. So the whole community, which is really cool. Yep.
Now with that, I mean, you've mentioned that you're working with autism at the moment in regards to your studies.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of the outcomes that you're starting to get out of that study can be transferred into everyday coaching, no matter what type of kid you've got.
And even from a background my background is in teaching and also in coaching for many years, and I've always, stood by the mantra that special needs or inclusive practice is best practice. If you're catering for that child that might need structure and understanding of what's happening next, you're actually also supporting the kids in your team who may not have been paying attention or may have had a rough, trip on the way here and not be quite switched on yet. So you're definitely, by supporting these kids, you're supporting all kids. So, the work I do is 100% relevant to all mainstream sport, not just specifically to a disability, but again it helps everybody thrive. So
okay, so a lot of this will be aimed at the volunteer coach, so the real foundation of all sports clubs across not only WA but across this great nation of ours. So what's the first thing that a volunteer coach really needs to know?
Well, I developed the Buster Burpee Coaching Kids program specifically for this purpose, because I think we've got some amazing parents generally, or older club members, or youth who come in, step into volunteer roles without necessarily having much experience. So I really hope through my work I can get everyone feeling a lot more confident. I think the two things to really look at as any coach is to think, first of all, have a bit of a reflection on what type of coach you are and that you want to be. So I do a lot of work around a really simple activity everyone can do now, whether you're listening or watching. Have a think about who your favourite coach was. So when you're growing up now, or a favourite teacher. Now, if I was doing this in a room full of people and we're workshopping it, we'd start to see, or what were some of the things that popped into your mind? What did that coach do? Like, did you think of someone?
Personally, my first coach.
Or your favourite coach, yeah.
My favourite coach or my first coach, they they'll probably, they're in the same, because at the end of the day, I've had a pretty long career in cricket, and if it wasn't for that first interaction with that coach, I don't know where that might have gone. So my first coach, what he was very inclusive. He probably would have been ahead of his time. Probably a little bit desperate for numbers, so we just took anybody that sort of came along, to be fair. But at the same time, even before there were rules about that forced participation and things like that, it just happened organically. So we had a rule, and I still like it today, where this coach brought in that everyone has to learn how to score. And if you've ever been part of a cricket team, scoring on a score sheet, it's pretty difficult to do. So no matter who you were in the team, every game it was your turn to sit and score. And that's something that I've still taken away to today. You know what I mean?
And if we look into that in regards from the research side of things, what your coach was doing there was giving you a sense of purpose and feeling a part of that team. So you felt your confidence was there, you felt you were able to do it, and you were part of that team, and you had a job to do. So, you know, drawing on that, and if we did, as I said, if we workshop this with a group of people, they'd be saying their favourite coach. Generally, they'd say they're funny. They might have had a catchphrase or something they used to do that made the kids laugh, or that you all got to, you know, a chant or a team song or whatnot. And they, you know, and they, most importantly, that coach made that kid feel special, valued, able to do what everyone else was doing. So it's really important to think of what those values that you respected, and then to project those in your own coaching. And you can absolutely fake that. You don't have to be a wiggle. I say this a lot, you know, but you can certainly project that sense of fun and have a little catchphrase. Kids buy into that and they love it. And I think the second thing as a coach is really around routine. So start how you want to end up. Get that routine strong, and you know, it's going to help with behaviour, it's going to help with inclusion, it's going to help you have a better time, and it's going to help the kids, you know, because the kids love to know what's happening and what's coming up next, and that predictability. So we'll go into that more in my courses, but also I'm sure we'll talk more about these themes will come up today as well.
Okay, so just part of this this series is you're going to get links in the show notes to some worksheets and some modules that are going to help the learning, but you're also going to get a link to the Buster Burpee website, which will highlight opportunities to get some further education down the line. Fundamental movements are obviously a crucial part of athletic development. How do you recommend coaches get that into their coaching?
So the biggest thing that I touched on a little bit at first about being a fun coach is also how you can make sport fun. So if we're looking at the under 12-year-old age group in regards to coaching kids, it is all about fun. And when you're looking, as I said earlier, I'm about retaining members for your club and getting kids coming back. And the way you do that is by making it fun. So when you look at those fundamental movements that are important, whether it be for gross motor development or skill development or warming up and getting out, looking after our bodies correctly in sport, you can easily put a spin on those to make it, rather than the scenario I love is, you know, instead of saying run laps or do some shuttle runs, which is a pretty standard warm-up for most coaches, you know, I say to the kids, right, you know, how long is it going to take the bathtub to fill up with water? And they'll look at me strangely, but they'll say 2 minutes. And I say, right, you've got 2 minutes. How far do you think you can run in that time? And they might say they can do 3 shuttles. And I said, right, 3 shuttles, go. I'm timing you. And then next thing I have my water bottle. A water bottle you buy for $2 at Bunnings. Every coach should have a spray bottle. And then, you can start spraying the kids with it, having a laugh that the bath's starting to overflow. And next thing you've got kids deliberately doing extra work, because by the end of the day, you actually want the bath to overflow and get squirted with the water. And instead of the kids moaning about having to run and do their shuttle runs, which is quite a common response, you can have them engaged in actually pushing for more. So just putting that spin on it. Now, easier said than done. I guess I have over 30 years experience now in this space. So, that's where obviously I can help out more. And if you jump on all my socials and stuff, I'll regularly follow tips and ideas, and there's heaps of content on, like I said, we'll share through some links and give you some more ideas. But that's just number one, it's obviously be a great coach that includes everyone, and that routine, and then of course the fun element, super important.
And you can't underestimate the fun element of it, but at the same time it can't all be necessarily fun and games, and that probably sounds a little bit contradictory, but they're still got to learn the game, and they want to. They'll have fun by learning the game. So your skill as that fun.
Yeah.
So with that, I dare say a big part of that would be communication and language, and how saying one thing to one person may come out completely different to the other.
Yes, absolutely, and especially with kids, what you think they're interpreting, and even adults, we have trouble misinterpreting each other. The first thing I'll say though, when it comes to kids, is short and sharp, because you just got to keep in your head one instruction at a time, and the number one regulator for kids' behaviour and to help kids settle into things is to get them up and moving. And like I said at the start, we want to get more kids participating in more physical activity. So if you, for example, you've got a drill where you might be wanting them to practice a particular type of pass, so you'd, rather than give them every single strategy of how to throw it, how to catch it, how to step forward, how to move into the pass, move into position, start off by saying, right, passes from the chest, and look at the person you're passing to, go. And then straight away you need to get those kids up and moving, practicing it. They just need to be touching the ball, handling the ball, and then you can bring them back after, set a timer 2 minutes, for example, and say, right, okay, the next strategy, I want to see you all moving to receive the pass. So you can give them those instructions for those skills, one thing at a time. It's going to make your session go for longer, which often one of the most common things that happens in kids' sport. You'll think, all right, I'm going to spend 20 minutes on this, and the kids are done in 7 minutes. So this is a really good way to make that passing drill last for 20 minutes. And the kids keep them, you're keeping them moving, you're getting them up, you're bringing them back, you're getting them up, and you're keeping them engaged. Just touching on the communication, a really good strategy I'll use, and I'll put this, as a as a downloadable, and that's the me, you, us strategy. So I will tell the kids, this is the skill we're working on here, and I will choose, and I specifically will choose the kid, not the kid with the highest skill level. I would choose the child that's often not picked, or it might be a child that needs some extra help with inclusion, and I'll get that child up with me and say, right, me, this is how we do it now, together, us, we're going to do it this way, you as a group, go. And when I do the you as a group, that's when I'll say, right, 2 minutes, go. And then I'll blow the whistle 2 times, bring them all back, and then I'll do me, us, you again for the next part of that skill. So it's a really great way of A, modelling inclusion, B, making sure every child gets a go. You're eliminating behavioural issues because they're moving constantly. And if they think something's boring, they're only doing it for 2 minutes, the next thing. So it's a really great, and again, you're communicating through modelling and use of the whistle or a signal. Really, that body language is so important for kids, and it saves your voice. I think every coach can relate to having no voice from yelling over wind or loud kids. So there's lots of ways, and again, I've got a whole module just on communication, alternative to talking. So
and that's going to be crucial as well, because what we're learning more and more is the fact that we all learn in different ways. We all accept communication in different ways. We've got the visual learners, we've got the kinesthetic learners. Kinesthetic is feel, doing, and we've got the audible learners, which are it's actually not a great percentage.
It's one of the smallest,
and that's the people that learn by hearing and listening, and that's why we're sort of working on that model here. But at the same time, we're modelling it a little bit ourselves, in that we're using an interview type process rather than just a straight out webinar.
Absolutely, very different to a webinar, and hopefully just that point of difference will make it a bit more easy to listen to.
So me, you, and us, I like that. That's a fantastic little methodology there to bring into your coaching. Now, if I just go back to what we're trying to aim for here, the situation is this. There'll be people listening and watching right now, and essentially you're a parent volunteer, and your child has decided they want to play a particular sport, and this is the first time they're going to venture into it, and for you, this is your first venture into that sport as well. So not only are you you are going to be coaching this year, because that's why you're listening to this, but at the same time, your child's on a learning journey themselves. So we're actually factoring in the fact that is happening out there, and although sports are doing the best they can to deliver a foundation level coaching course, it doesn't really equip a lot of coaches with reality, which is, I am the coach of the under 12s and I really don't know how to play that particular sport. Off you go. And hopefully by the end of today, you're going to have some more tools to be able to put into your toolbox to be able to help you along. So you touched on inclusiveness, and that's probably a word, or that term might scare a few people. Can you sort of highlight what inclusiveness means to you?
So I think I certainly, touched on it earlier about, it's giving everyone a spot in that team. So there's that lovely quote about diversity is inviting everyone to the club, but inclusion is giving them a spot on the team. So it's really, and that doesn't mean that their spot is, they're sitting on the bench or they're in the back off-field corner where, so inclusion is embracing that diversity amongst your players and the members of your club. And inclusion's hard, and that's why a lot of people will step away from it. But it's a bit like, teaching in the classroom. The first few weeks are hard because you've got to establish the way things are going to work. But once you've got that established, it's actually amazingly rewarding. And that's what people miss out on when they don't put the effort into inclusion, because it brings the community so much stronger together. And a perfect example, if I look at my research, a group of high school students, that initially will be ostracising or leaving their child that may appear a bit odd or that misses every catch, and they leave that kid out and they're picking on him, there's their nasty comments. Now, as soon as you put a spin on that and you as the coach, you start modelling, like whether it be through the Meet Us U or even other demos, you model that good sportsmanship, which is get around him, guys, let's cheer him on, and oh yes, well done, did you everyone see that, and really supporting that player. Next thing you know, you're creating that environment where you've got a group of the exact same, and I've seen this happen in my research, the same group of teenagers are suddenly all getting around that child, and that they're uplifted, they're having a great time. The kids that are really, really good at that sport, who normally get angry when someone else mucks up, are suddenly, there's a bigger picture than just them being the winning team or the key, best on ground. They're suddenly around this, supporting this individual, and the whole club benefits from that. Now, yes, when you get to elite level squads and teams, you're going to be focusing more then on performance. But let's be honest, the elite teams, they're often got paid coaches, or the coaches who and handpicked their squad. What we're talking about, and again, you're looking at less than 2% of the population.
Yeah, we're actually looking at
the
majority here.
We want 98% of the kids that you coach to have a good time and to feel part of your club. So you know what? The kids that are really good at sport, they're going to be really good at sport. That's great. Let's teach them to be better humans, and in the process, and just be really great. And that's what I love seeing, and everyone joining in and getting around that person. So if you get those warm fuzzies in your club and that you see that child, another child supporting another one, and you're a big smile on your face, you're doing the right job, and you're being inclusive. And inclusion doesn't actually just mean disabilities. Inclusion means, the child that might be from a lower socioeconomic disadvantage, so they might not have the same gear as everyone else, which is enough for some kids to leave them out and ostracise them. Or it might be the kid that's had a really, really crap day, and mum and dad might have just had a fight, or and then they're just withdrawn and feeling a bit out of it. So inclusion is making them know that your club, your team is a safe place. So again, like I said at the start, if you are being inclusive in general, you are supporting the whole club, not just the kids that need it physically through a disability. So.
And I think that's it's an important. It's an important way to sort of highlight that inclusiveness means bringing everyone on board. We're not saying, hey, it's this particular group or that particular group. It's everybody, because everybody makes up the community, and everyone makes up a club or a group or an organisation.
And majority of coaches watching this are coaching team sports, and it is, and every experienced coach will tell you the team that works as a team will beat the team with 1 or 2 star players any day. So it really is that teaching them that teamwork. And when you get to our age and you're looking at employment and working, you want to work in a job with a great team. You want to be surrounded by good people. And so these are skills that will be transferable, again, being good humans, So, and we can, as coaches, we've got that it's an honour that we get to influence these kids in that way. So, be really thinking back to your favourite coach, and you as a coach, you've got that power to really impact not just, their sporting outcomes, but, they're little humans that they grow into. So through good sportsmanship and inclusion.
So can we maybe come up with an example? So we're in a coaching environment, just to help the coaches that are out there. We're in a coaching environment. What's a scenario that's like A grade, non-inclusive?
Okay, so I think even a nicer way to look at this is a scenario that becomes not inclusive because the coach might not know what to do. So I'd like to think now that we're past that old school days of the non-inclusive, like textbook example be the coach, you can't do it, you've got the worst skills, you're on the bench. Like, I mean, you can't get more non-inclusive than that. And I'd like to think we don't see any coaches like that nowadays. But I mean, I'd like to think we've got coaches that, you know, we've got one of your players who's giving another kid a hard time, mate, there's a benchable offence, you know. So yeah. I certainly really push, you know, that the only time I might get grumbly is if I see bad sportsmanship. So, But okay, so back to an example. So one way that we struggle, a lot of coaches struggle with inclusion, is withdrawal. When you get the child that removes themselves. The strategy for many coaches is just to leave that child sitting off because you've got your other kids to worry about. B, you're not quite equipped to know what's going on there and how to get that kid back. So that's probably a really common scenario and question I get asked a lot. So first of all, if you go back to the original strategy of keeping things moving, a lot of kids will withdraw, especially if we're looking at a neurodiverse child, so autistic, ADHD, or a child that hasn't understood instructions, etc. They might be removing themselves for a variety of reasons. It might be overstimulating, it might be too loud, they might not have any idea what to do and they're totally embarrassed. So it's never an offence to be yelled at. We certainly don't tell them off for withdrawing. Instead, we keep moving around, we keep changing the activities up, and you watch, like, eventually they actually will see it's fun and things are changing and they will get the idea of what to do and they will come and join in. Another way you can help support this is through a peer. So it's really, really reflective in the research that peer mentoring is stronger than any other form of, you know, whether it be a parent come and try and intervene or even you as the coach. One of the other kids go and say, oh, go and get, you know, so-and-so over there, see if they'll come and join in, and just keep asking them, just keep offering them to come and join in. So that and again, don't sweat it. I think a lot of kids will come back in when they're calmed down and they're feeling right. The number one thing, remember, is to not yell at them for it, not to discipline, and also don't completely ignore them. So I mean, you know, structured ignoring is a strategy with ADHD and autism as well, in regards to there are some things we do just let go, but we certainly want to keep trying to include them back in through the next exercises. That's actually another common thing with the coaches listening who coach younger age groups, or when you get a child coming for the first time to a sport, it's really common for that child to not want to join in. And it's, you know, and I see it every single season that the parents get frustrated and angry, like, just go and do it, you know. Yeah. And, you know, and I say it to every parent and to every coach, like, just let them watch. And a lot of kids, whether they've got, you know, a diagnosed condition or they're just a little bit anxious, they just need to feel comfortable. So by watching you, by seeing that it's fun, you're being fun, you know, you're not forcing them to do it. You're just constantly reminding them, hey, come and join us anytime. Please jump in. And, you know, and also to say to the parents, this is normal. Like, it's normal for kids to take a little while to warm up to joining in something new, and just keep bringing them. And I mean, that's the challenge, is when they go home and say they never want to come again. Again, I go right into that in my modules, but not today. But yeah, so just a couple of hopefully general scenarios that most people can relate to.
And I think you touch on it there. You're going to get that. You're going to start in your new club, and you're going to have 10, 12, however big your squad is, and there's going to be 2 that are just going to be in the corner and they're going to have a chit chat to themselves or whatever, and you've got this lot and you're worried about those 2 now, and rightly so, because you want to bring them all on board, but it might not be you. And I think that's the important thing. Like, take yourself. 9 times out of 10, it's probably not you.
100% with kids. No, kids are not mini adults. Kids don't look at you and hold a grudge. Like, kids are. It's definitely not you. Like, kids, they don't read body language, gestures, sarcasm like we do. Which is also why it's easy to fake being, you know, a wiggle, because kids aren't. Oh, he's fake. They just think you're being funny. So no, definitely not you. And you mentioned then the chatterbox kids. I mean, you learn pretty quickly those ones. You know, and a lot of coaches will separate them or tell them they've got to be with someone else. I mean, I just love the fallback for everything is to get them moving, you know, and I will regularly use those kids, and I'll be explaining something, they're having a chat, so I'll say their names, let's call them A and B, run to the flag and back, go. And then I joke with that and I'm like, okay, now they're gone, right, now let's explain what to do. the rest of the kids get started. Those kids have come back from their little run.
Yep.
They think they're hilarious. They join in. Everyone's moving, and we've all moved on. So just little tips like that. You know, don't chastise them. Don't yell at them. The child A and B who haven't stopped talking once have probably been yelled at all day by their parents in the morning before school, by the teachers all day at school, and then they've come, you know, they need to get that energy out, and the best way is to, get them moving.
Get them moving. Okay. And we'll be back right after this. Okay, welcome back. So just to continue our conversation, so we're sort of trying to wrap this up a little bit, because there's been a lot of information. With that, just wanted to remind everyone, in the show notes, as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be downloadable help your learning here. This little discussion here and be able to sort of upskill yourself and sort of take away some resources that are going to help you become a better coach, we hope.
Yes.
But also there are going to be links to Michelle's website, busterburpee.com.au, am I right? And links to all her socials. And amongst all that suite of, I guess, communication, there is a lot of resources that you're going to have an ability to tap into. And Michelle has some extra modules and workshops that are available for you to look into moving forward as well. Michelle's doing that power work in the community, sort of upskilling and making us all better functioning human beings. We can move better, we can jump better, we can strike better, and everything in between. So if you had 3 or 4 pearls of wisdom that the coaches are going to be able to take away at the end of this little catch-up, what would they be?
Well, I think, as you know, there's definitely been a theme through here. So the first, looking at what's our objective, and I think that you need to be clear as a coach that your objective with coaching kids is to develop those fundamental skills, as you said, but also that love of celebrating what their bodies can do. Now, obviously, every child has different abilities, so just empowering that child to be excited about their sport, excited about moving, because next season they might not play your sport, but they're going to go into another sport. That's what we want. We want them to continue their physical activity, to be healthy adults and, living a long and healthy life.
Yeah.
And the number one way to achieve that is through being physically active. So that's your outcome. So just remember that rather than, thinking of winning a grand final or producing these amazingly high-skilled kids. Kids will specialise when they get older, and that's where all the research is. We want them coming back and enjoying their sport.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a specialist coach, there's nothing wrong with taking some pointers here and just making, having a bit of fun as well, because ultimately if it's not fun, so go back to what you were saying. So the main point, fun. The number one highest quality, we talk about quality of motivation, not just being motivated, but the best quality of motivation is intrinsic, which means you do it for the joy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, we want to make this as fun as possible for kids to keep coming back. And the 3 ways we do that. One, that child needs to feel a part of your community. Okay, now you might, for example, say, and again, my work is in working with autistic youth. So you might say, well, how is that when you have a child who doesn't want to interact socially with the other players? Now, through my research, I'm discovering that socialisation for an autistic youth is that coach having that interaction with the child. That's enough for them to feel part of the group. You're not leaving them out. They might still, I mentioned earlier that significant other as in a peer, right? Just really helping engage those relationships. So, number one, you want them to feel part of it. And so that can be done. I make a point, I say every time I work with a group of kids, I say every child's name at least once throughout the session.
That's a good one.
Now, it doesn't seem a big deal, but that you let that child know. They go home the next day like, Mum, my coach really likes me. My coach remembered this. So just knowing your kid's name, saying the name. Now, the next thing to think about is, so that's relatedness. Now, every kid's got different levels of skills. And the worst thing is, the next reason kids drop out, if it's not fun, the next reason if they feel like they can't do it or they feel stupid, and they get embarrassed. Okay, so if you are learning new skills, as a coach, really model like yourself failing. And you mentioned there's some coaches that aren't experts in that sport. Great, let the kids see that. Let them see you developing, because it's going to give them the confidence to step up as well.
Mm-hmm.
So really,
So just on that one there, I think it's important to take away that because you are the coach, you're not expected to be the expert in that field at all. So don't feel intimidated that you're taking the local basketball team and 3 of the kids in your team are probably better than you. That's fine. I guess, highlighting your vulnerability.
Yeah, that's it. And a great coach is not a great player. Like, yes, there are some fantastic players who are great coaches, but really being a great coach is about that engagement and that rapport with your team, and which we're talking about. And that's definitely where my work is in. So, and that when we're talking about that being able to do something or not. I mean, no one knows everything, and kids need to learn that. Even the kids that are quite skilled in the sport need to learn that they're going to be a beginner at something at some point. So, just having that attitude within your players that we're learning this. It's a new skill. It's okay to not be able to do it yet. So, you're either encouraging that they can do it or that they can learn to do it by breaking it down. So that's the second important thing. So we want them to have fun, feel part of the group, and to feel they can do it. And the last one is around choices. So kids love, and that's where you as a coach can do your own little research. I do my coaching research during the stretches at the end. So this is a little hack here. So sitting generally.
Take note.
Yes, yeah. So I will always get the kids sitting down, generally in a circle, and we're doing our hamstring stretches or our, quads, whatever we're stretching. And you've got a captive audience. So they're there and they're listening to you. So don't just tell them to go off and stretch. I mean, it's the most valuable time. You're ending the session. You end it on a good note. The kids go home. They've had a good time. They want to come back next week. So you've got them all stretching, and that's when you can start talking to them about what was your most favourite thing, or what did you love about today, or what are 3 things that would make today better. Really getting that constructive feedback from the kids, and then they're feeling empowered of being, having a say in their team and in their sport. So, and that stretching time, I mean, it's so invaluable. You can be talking about what are they going to eat after this, what's the best fuel for our body, how do we keep ourselves healthy on the inside, it's, some other deeper things like that. But it's a really great, I think too many coaches just, finish the session and say, do your stretches. That's a really, and it's a bit of psychology there with kids. If you start with a fun game, finish with the fun stretches, the kids have had a fun time. Even if they've felt a bit.
You've bookended it, haven't you?
Absolutely. So really, and again, there's that routine that I talked about at the start too, that's going to help every kid know the way the session's going to go. Even if you do different things in the middle, you've got that routine. So, so you're summarising fun, feeling that they're able to do it, and feeling a part of the group, and also that they have a choice in say in what's going on. So, I think if you can remember all of that, I'll be testing you next week. But really, the fact that you're watching this and you want to improve your own coaching is already, you're a step, you're a better coach for doing it, because you're having that reflection, and it's so important. I mean, I'm constantly reflecting. So we're always learning. So.
And we expect that, the behaviours we expect of our pupils, our athletes, our whatever you want to call your group of people that you're coaching, and I think it's a fair expectation of I guess be it the players or the people on the sidelines, that the coach is also doing some learning themselves, and don't be afraid to look into other avenues to learn a little bit more about coaching. Like I said, thank you for coming along today, but at the same time, this isn't the only place to get your information. And as I've mentioned, I've already highlighted that there's a whole suite of information available on busterburpee.com.au. Michelle's a fantastic educator and really helping the coaching community to improve and get better through inclusiveness. Really, that's probably the main, the glue that sort of brings it all together. But there's another big part of it you do, and that's the fundamental movement. And what are your thoughts on? Essentially, we're trying to build a person up. Like, if you've got the under 10s or the under 11s, you've got a really important role in helping their fundamental movement development. And you've only got that little window, because they might also do swimming, they might also do soccer, they might also. So if we all sort of play our little part, what do you see the benefits of that?
Well, it's really important that, first of all, you're giving them confidence to move. So your role in your place is just letting them have fun, move their bodies, celebrate what they can do, teach them some skills hopefully through some of the strategies I've talked about today, and to get that child to feel confident to have a go. Because then they're going to go to the next coach and they're going to carry that confidence with them. And hopefully that coach continues to support that confidence and not thwart it, because we need driving kids, not kids with anything down. And then again, like I mentioned earlier as well, they're going to continue, that's going to become their attitude, their mindset. They're going to realise that life is fun when you can get up and move. And I hear this a lot from the women I work with who recently had kids, or reality that they want to be running around the place with their kids, or they want to go bike riding with their 10-year-old, or now mountain biking. I just ride mountain biking for the first time with my son, and it was just the best fun. I mean, I white knuckle terror the whole time. But you know what? I knew, like, physically, I was up for the challenge. You know, I knew I've got those fundamental skills, and I love exercising, and I love, you know, what I can do because I'm a healthy person. So I think, you know, the kids are not thinking long term,
No, not at all.
life, but they are thinking, is it fun, and am I good at it? You know,
Yeah.
So that's our job to build that up, and yeah, there's definitely long term impacts there. And what amazing if we had all the community coaches all on the same page, and
Yeah. Well, that's the aim.
Building this great community, great community.
Yeah, because you're not only building their athletic development, and that's a big part of it. So the athletic development they have at a young age, and if all sports are doing their part, because all sports are different. So some have got striking, some have got jumping, some have got kicking, some have got. You put all that together, the sum of that is a very good athlete. Now, whether that means that they move on and decide to have a career in sport, or they just want to continue playing sport because they have an absolute ball.
To try something new, and they're not
Yeah.
going to be the ones sitting out going, I can't do it.
But it's also that whole just physical being, just feeling your skin and your body, and having a healthy sort of lifestyle, and getting out and moving more, and enjoying, you know, the great sunshine as you can see behind us. Enjoy this great state of WA. Okay, look, so I think there's been a lot of information that's sort of come on board there. I can't stress enough to go to the show notes, download the worksheets, and also jump onto the Bus to Burpee, all the socials.
It's quite easy to get in touch through those avenues, and we'll come and talk to the club, some specific needs. I can definitely work with inclusion, with disability, and also with mainstream.
Yep.
And upskilling coaches, and that's, you know, we want the coaches coming back. We don't know obviously the kids, we want to retain them, but it's no good if we don't have the volunteers and coaches. So we want you guys to feel empowered and happy and enjoying what you do.
Yep.
I love my time that I still volunteer coach. I still volunteer a lot, and that is the highlight of my week. It's so much fun. So
Yeah.
keep you young.
And if you decide to continue on coaching, well, kudos to you, because that's exactly what we'd like to see in sport. We don't, the attrition rate of coaching is way too high, and we'd love to have multi-year coaches, and we totally understand and appreciate that life can get in the way, but also we do appreciate and understand that our research suggests that it's probably an anxiety that comes from a lack of knowledge of being a coach, and probably even what they think a coach needs to be or what they should be, when really, I think just be a good person.
Absolutely, yep.
Just be the best version of you, and just be true. And I think, especially with young kids, they can,
Unless you're faking being funny.
but they can spot anxiety and fear very quickly. So hopefully, So hopefully we've given you some tools to be able to go away with. So that has been the end of this episode. So this has been Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries Coach and Officials Development Series. My name is Orazio Santalucia. This has been Michelle Wong. Hopefully you got a lot out of it, and tune in to the next episode that you'll see on whatever platform you are viewing or listening to this. Thank you very much. Goodbye.